Hello.
Hi, Trisha.
Hi, how are you, Forrest?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm going to let a few more people in. Oh, here they are at
Alrighty.
the same time.
Good. Appreciate the resource, being able to learn more about the portfolio stuff beforehand. I'd hate to be caught at the last minute figuring it out.
I completely agree. I would hate for you to be caught that way too. That is not a good way. I think this will be helpful. I hope not overwhelming, but helpful. It's
That's
nice
what
just
I'm
to
looking
have a little look-see together, you know.
for. Absolutely.
It's funny how everyone comes at the exact same time. Of course, I did just open the meeting, but still. Let's see. Hi there, Carrie. How are you?
I'm
Nice.
good. How's everyone?
Okay. How have you been? Let's see. Okay. There we go. Well, we'll probably wait 3 or 4 minutes just to make sure. We won't probably start right at 7. We may start at like 7:02. And we're recording it too, so if people miss the beginning, that'll be okay. But we'll just give everyone a couple minutes. I'm glad to see so many people got the right night after my mini announcements with the wrong day. It seems like no one's confused except for me. Yay.
Well, we sorted it out.
I was really worried. I thought, oh no, what have I done? I think I have 12 meetings this week, not all in the evening, but it's just, you get confused sometimes with all the meetings.
Karen, hi. It's me, Heather from Preview.
Okay. Let's see. Mhm. All right, well, we're going to just go ahead and get started. And if I have to pause in a minute to let people in, then I'll just do that. But it's nice to see you all. I mean, I can see some of you and I can see some names. I know how it is to want to be incognito, when you don't have to show your face on the meeting. So that's okay. But I am glad to see you all. My name's Trisha Kwan. And I guess you would say I'm kind of in charge of this project, which is very exciting. I think it's a great project. I would say back a couple years ago when we voted to go from the EOP exam, the comprehensive exam, to the ePortfolio, if I had known then what I was getting into, I don't know if I would have voted to do it. But I have to say, it's so much better for you as students. It's a little more work for me, but for you all, I just think it's going to be a really, really valuable experience. So, and you know what? It's going to be some work, but over time for you. You don't have to do it all in 1 week like you would have to do the EOP. And it's not that kind of intense pressure. We just finished the EOP exam last week because we're doing, so you're starting the portfolio, but we still have students graduating under the EOP. And I just always feel so bad for them. It's so much pressure, to have to do that test so quickly and for so much to be writing on it. So I think you will like this a lot better. So tonight, my plan, sorry, this doorbell keeps ringing, which means that people are trying to get in. But so my plan today is not to keep you very long, but I do just want to show you a few things about the ePortfolio and answer any questions that you have. Now, I probably will just talk for a while. And if you have questions, you can write them in the chat or jot them down. And because at the end, we'll do question and answer. So I'll just go through my whole spiel. And then if you have questions, I'll go back to the chat and check and see what your questions are there. Or if you want to ask them verbally, that's great too. That works for me. And I just want to make sure and answer any questions that you have tonight, because it's nice to go into a project like this, knowing what to expect, I think, ahead of time. And, we are thankful for the people in the fall group, the fall 2019 and the spring 2020 group, who were our guinea pigs because they've made it so much nicer for you guys. I think it's getting better every day. So I'm going to share my screen so that I can show you some things. Okay, so here we are. Right now, this is our summer, and I call this the CIP for short. So this is our Community of Information Professionals Canvas site, which is just where you're going to go to do your ePortfolio. So this is not a class. This is a capstone project. You're not getting a grade like on your ePortfolio, except until the end. I mean, you do have to pass it. So you're getting a pass or a fail grade eventually. Along the way, though, you're going to have reviews. Oh, by the way, I forgot. I saw Carrie. Wave at everyone, Carrie. Carrie is one of our reviewers. And Nez, I think you're here too. Nez, wave at everyone too. And Nez is also one of our reviewers. I don't know if Diane is here, but Carrie and Nez and Diane right now are all reviewing ePortfolios at the end of the semester, and we'll talk about what that is here in a minute. But first, let's just take a look at this site. So when you do have the review, remember, you're not getting like a grade on your transcript. This is your capstone project. So think of it as like, a thesis. It's something you have to do to finish your degree, and you do have to pass it, but you're not getting a grade like you would in a class. And this site will be available to you from now through your whole degree. You will have access to it as you move through every course. And in between courses, usually when you're taking a class, your class goes away that last day of class. But in this case, this will stay here in between classes, so you can access it in between semesters too. Or if you take a semester off, unless you tell me to take you out of this, you're going to be in here until you're done, till you graduate. And at that point, then you'll go through foliotech.com to access your ePortfolio. But until then, you should always access it through this community in Canvas. So we'll call it the CIP for short. So I'm not going to read all this to you because I know you can do all that on your own, but I will just point out a couple of things. These screencasts, there's a couple of them on the first page. These are just an introduction. One of these is just to lead you through the process the first time you go to log on to your template. And we'll look at the template here in a second. The second screencast is just to kind of introduce you to the CIP site. Now, if you scroll down a little further, you can see it says click here to start building your ePortfolio. So this is what you would click on to get to the actual template. So we're going to take a look at the template for a second here, and I already opened it. Let me see where I opened it. I opened it in a tab somewhere. Okay, put here. All right. Yes. So I'm going to open it here. And this is what the template looks like. So the template is designed that it has all the pages that you're going to need to complete with your ePortfolio, but you can see it's kind of plain. Look at this picture. I have no idea what this picture even is. This was just some stock picture. You know, probably the first thing you're going to want to do is change that picture, because unless that picture is where you live, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? I mean, it's kind of a nice picture, but of course you're also going to want to change the name. If we scroll down a little bit, you can see these are the main pages that will be required for your electronic portfolio. And if you hover over some of the pages, you can see that there are subpages. If there's a page here, that means you need to add content on that page. That means that that's expected that you would complete that. Now, don't delete pages, because whenever our faculty at the very end of your program come on here to look at your ePortfolio, they're going to want to see that you have content on all of those pages. So I know that completely, I think, makes sense. On every page, there are instructions. Those instructions are just to tell you what to put on that page. So down here, this is what I would call the landing page. This is the page where you first enter your ePortfolio. It's this one, the ePortfolio of student name. So as you scroll down, there's some instructions here. One of the things it says is to provide a professional photo of yourself. So obviously, you're going to want like a headshot. You know, we probably don't want to see you in your wedding dress. And I only say that because I've seen that where people put you've never looked better than the day you get married. I get it. But, you know, unless you're trying to be a wedding planner with your ePortfolio, it's probably not the picture that you want. So think about that. What does a professional photo look like? And if you want more information, you can follow this link and it'll give you some examples. So on every single page, there's going to be instructions, and this is on the template. It's instructions to tell you what to place there. Now, when you actually start placing content, I recommend, like if I were to, this is a view only. I can't actually make any changes on this right now, but if I could, I would click right here and I would just press enter a few times and push the instructions down. So you can enter your content like at the top. I would keep those instructions until the very end, until you're sure you don't need them anymore. Let's say you do this work the first semester and you delete all the instructions, and then you're in your review, the person says, you know, paragraph 3, you really needed a little bit more. Can you go back and add? And then you think, oh no, I deleted the instructions. So I would just keep them until your final review after your 5th semester is completed, and then just delete the instructions before it goes before faculty. So before your ePortfolio goes to its faculty review, which is the very final review, I would keep the instructions until then. So there's a couple of things I want to point out on this page, or about the ePortfolio. Most of the things I think are pretty standard and everyone can understand them. One of the things that we've seen some confusion under my professional education, where it says current degree plan, at the end of your first year, so this is your first semester, so sometime like around next spring, you're going to want to make an appointment with the advising office, and they are the ones who can give you a formal degree plan. Until then, you can just enter what courses you're taking each semester and what courses you plan to take the next semester. Now you might say, oh, what if I don't follow that plan exactly? That's okay. Anything you put on this electronic portfolio is yours. You get to change this information. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I lied. Now they're going to zing me. No, it's not like that. Because you can change this content anytime. It's your ePortfolio. So, you know, just because things might change from one semester to the next, that's perfectly fine. So just realize that you can make changes anytime. Now, under this professional philosophy of practice, this is another area that we get a lot of questions about. basically, back in the day when I was a teacher, we called this our philosophy of education. That meant what really is important to you about your career. What is important to you about what you're going to do in your career? So I was a school librarian for several years, and one of the things that was really important to me was that students be able to check out whatever books they wanted to check out. Now, this was sometimes a problem because teachers don't like the same books that students like. And sometimes they would say, "Oh, that book's crap," or "Are you reading another graphic novel?" And I would say, "Yes, and let them read what they want to read." Because what does research say? Well, research says that you can make them check out a book, but you can't make them read it. And if you make them check out a book that they don't want to read, guess where that book's going to sit until the next week? In their backpack. So what good did that do? It did no good. So I just don't understand why people can't understand that. So anyway, that would be something I'm very passionate about. I'm like, let kids read what they want to read. I don't care if they want to read every Pokemon book 1,000 times. If that's what they want to read, yay, at least they're reading, right? If they want to read magazines, great. I'm going to buy more magazines then. Because to me, it's not about what I like even. I don't enjoy reading Pokemon. But but you know what? A million kids love to read Pokemon. So that is so important, to provide the materials that people want to read. So that would be something I would talk about. Now, I might have 2 or 3 other things. When you think about it as you're going through your coursework, so many topics. We talk about a lot of different things, right? When you're doing your discussion boards and such, some of those things, though, kind of mean more to you than others. So there's no right or wrong answer on this part. This is about what matters to you in terms of your future career. I would say you want 3 or 4 different things that you say, this is so important to me because. And then this is important to me because. There could be like 100 things. There could be 1,000 things that actually matter, but you don't have to talk about all of them. Pick 3 or 4 things that really matter to you. This is going to say a lot about you. When a future employer looks at this, they're going to say, "Oh, okay. You know what? I've had to turn down jobs before because I didn't agree with the person who was the employer." And you're going to run into that too. At one interview one time, I said, "So how do you feel about a library that's not quiet?" And the principal was like shocked. "What do you mean, a not quiet library?" I was like, "Well, because there's a lot of that can be going on in a library that's really busy. And if you're not on board and okay with that, then, this might not be a good fit." Because for me, sometimes the sound of voices is the sound of learning, and that's really important to me. We do maker spaces, it gets loud. This is not your mama's library or your grandma's library, right? The library has changed, but sometimes people don't know that, and so these things come up. But if that's in my philosophy, they're going to know that before they even call me to interview me. All right, now your blog and your reflections. This is fun. The blog part. This I want you to just, have a good time. People sometimes ask, "Can I put my discussion board interests?" Yeah, you can, but don't make it look like a discussion board. I would say, on a blog, this is where you have usually like a title, and you might have a picture, and you want the title to be catchy, right? You're trying to draw people into your blog. Hashtags are always good too with blogs, right? Because you want people to want to look at your blog and say, "Oh, what is this person doing here in this blog? That was really interesting." I mean, I used to blog about Game of Thrones just because I loved Game of Thrones. So if there was a good episode, I would put that in my blog. It had nothing to do with the library, but I was like, "Oh, but it was just, something that was important to me." So now for you guys, you're going to want to keep it. You can have those blogs, but you're going to want to keep it also mainly about your content. So think about having a title, having a date. If you wanted to, instead of having like one long page, you could add subpages under your blog if you wanted to categorize them. That is completely up to you. And here in a minute, I'm going to show you some examples so that you can kind of see what some of our students are doing. Now, this impact of my professional development, this is going to be basically you taking up all the loose ends toward the end of your education and tying them all together, which is not always easy to do, right? That means like, what do all these pieces, you have all these pieces of a puzzle, and this is the part where we want you to put them together and make a picture. What does this have to do with this and this and this? And I don't mean you have to take every assignment. No, you're not going to have to do that. But we want you to discuss here what was really important in your education. What really mattered that you learned that's a big piece of this puzzle? What are those parts, and how are you going to put them together? Now, I'll let you read this because you know, there's a lot more information here, as you can see, but that's going to be something that you want to think through. Now, you can work on that as you go throughout, you know, your coursework, because there could be pieces of that puzzle that you are finding this summer. It just depends on what courses you're taking and what assignments really speak to you. This piece about the ALA core competencies is really important. This is the part for our accreditation that our accrediting board looks at. We just re-upped our accreditation with ALA this past spring, yay! And it went really well. They love the electronic portfolio. And one of the things they like is right here on these core competencies, the American Library Association has 8 core competencies. So 8, I was doing 10, but it's 8, 8 core competencies. And they like to see that you know what these core competencies mean. Because if you're in the library field, library science or information science, you need to know about the ALA core competencies. So if you look here at core competency number 1, let's go here to competency 1. Now, this will link, where is that link? Okay, well, well, I'll show you when we go back to our CIP. There's information on our CIP to help you. Oh, no, I'm on the wrong one. Hold on just a second. Let me go back here to there it is. Okay, here's the link. So if you need to know what the core competencies are, you can click here. That information is also in a module in our CIP, and I'll show you that in a second. So for every assignment that you do, now you don't have to put every assignment on here, but you could think about the core competencies in terms of your assignments. So as you're looking at them, this one is foundations of the profession. What you're going to need by the time you graduate is 2 assignments for each of the 8 core competencies. So you're going to need 16 assignments. You're going to tell us what class you did that assignment in. You're going to have the name and a brief description of the assignment. When did you complete it? What is it? You're going to load that assignment on here. And then 150 to 250 words that tell us how that assignment meets this competency. So let's take a look at the core competencies for a second. I'm teaching a course on youth literature right now. One of the things that I just graded last week, my students did book talks, and they were amazing. Oh my gosh, they were so good, and they were very creative. So many amazing ideas. Well, they had to record their book talks, and then they had to post them on YouTube, and then they had to link them. So, but they basically were created a video recording. So I would look under technological knowledge and skills, although this could also fit under, let's see, I would say it could also fit under information resources because they were book talks. So they were talking about books. The thing is, all of your assignments could probably fit under multiple competencies. You just need to justify why you think the competency fits where you choose to put it. So let's take a look at number 4. the technological knowledge and skills. So as I look at these 4A, 4B, 4C, and 4D, I'm thinking, oh, I like this one, 4B, the application of information communication, assistive and related technology, and the tools consistent. Well, that doesn't really fit. That's not exactly what I was thinking. Let me see. What techniques necessary to identify? Related. Oh, I would go with 4A because it's about technology as they affect resources, service delivery. So part of the service I provide is talking about books and getting students excited about wanting to read books. So a book talk is definitely going to do that. So I would say this assignment, and then I would load that video, or I would provide a link to that video on YouTube. I would say this assignment meets the technological knowledge and skills, ALA competency 4A, because it takes technology and creates a resource to allow students to learn more about books that we have in our library collection. So it's a great way to basically advertise your book. So that would be how I would link that to this competency. Now, by the time you get done, let me move you because you're right there where my clicker needs to go back. Okay, I'm gonna move you back up here now. Okay, so by the time you get done, you need 2 assignments for each of the 8 competencies. You can use the same assignment in 2 places. So if you wanted to, you could just have 8 assignments, but then you're going to have it in 2 different competencies, because a lot of times one assignment can meet more than one competency. So does that make sense? And if you have questions, we'll take questions here in a second too. Now then, your curriculum vitae, that is either your resume or your vita. Of course, a vita is just a longer resume. It's just a really long resume, but there's a spot right here for you to include your resume. And that was a really quick look at some of the parts of the template. Now, when you go into the template, as far as design goes, you get to change all the design. If you want the menu over here, or if you want the menu up here, you can move it. We expect you to make this look like you. It should reflect your personality, because this is your electronic portfolio. So I'm going to come back to the main CIP page now and just talk to you for a minute about the modules. So I'm going to go to modules, and this is set up a lot like your courses are, where your modules include your assignments. And you can see here it says the ePortfolio parts explained step by step. So a lot of the things we just talked about with your template, these are all the pages, the main pages that are on your template. And then the subpages are also included under these links with more information about what to do and how to do it. So let's take a look here. So right now it says start here. Now this is going to give you some background information about your electronic portfolio. Every semester you'll have a review. So your first semester work is due August 21st. Carrie and Nez and Diane, and we'll probably add another person by the end of the semester. Someone's going to look at your ePortfolio to see what you've done so far. And there's a checklist, and I'll show you the checklist in a second. And basically on the checklist, each criteria, kind of like if you think about it, is broken down by, on this page, like, did you do a blog? Did you do 4 blogs? However many blogs you're expected to do, they're going to be looking to see what you did and how well you did it. They'll give you a 3, a 2, or a 1 for each criteria, and I'll show you the rubric here in a second too. And basically, by the time you graduate, we want you to have all 3s. So let's say maybe you didn't check your spelling and you have a lot of typos. They're going to say, oh, okay, you got a 2 on this part because we need you to go back and check all your spelling because there were several misspelled words. So you're going to do that. The second semester, like in the fall, you're going to go back and make changes to any of those things you didn't get a 3. You're going to go back and make changes and make those things, move them up better. And this process is just an editing process. We just want to help you make your ePortfolio the best it can be. So before it goes before faculty for that final review, it's going to go several times before reviewers so that they can look at it and say, okay, what's missing or what needs a little bit of tweaking, etc. So that's a little bit about the review. As there's a couple of things I do want to tell you about, because the system that we're using to create these electronic portfolios is called FolioTech, and it's a little bit snickety, like my teenage daughter. it's just quirky, and it doesn't like Internet Explorer, and it doesn't like Safari, and I don't know why. Like, why don't you like those things? Who knows? We don't know. So I recommend that you use Google Chrome or Firefox, because it just doesn't work well with Internet Explorer or Safari. A couple other things. FolioTech, if they haven't already emailed you, they probably will. As soon as you go in here and set up, they're going to say, hey, you can come to foliotech.com and access your ePortfolio here. The only problem is, if you work on your ePortfolio at foliotech.com, those changes that you make, we won't be able to see them, because your ePortfolio is linked to an assignment in Canvas for us. So if you make changes at foliotech.com, we're not going to know it. So always, until you graduate, I would say just enter your ePortfolio through the home page. That link that's on the home page, enter your ePortfolio that way. Also, at the end of the semester, you're going to want to submit your work. There's a little, next to the save button, there's a button that says submit. You're just going to click on that. That will just send your changes to us so that we can see them. Otherwise, your changes don't show up on our end. You'll be able to see them, but we won't be able to see them. So there's, like I say, just some quirky little things, and there's more here. So I'll let you read that though. Go ahead and take a look at this content and read it. And I won't go through this whole module with you, but I'll just show you a couple other basics. First, every Wednesday this summer, FolioTech is sponsoring a help desk from 2 to 3 p.m. So that's for things on the program itself, like, how do I change the design? A lot of this you'll learn by playing with the program, but like I say, FolioTech's a little bit quirky. So sometimes it's going to do things that we're like, I don't know why it's doing that. And you're going to be like, why is it doing this? It's driving me crazy. Well, this would be a good time to join that help desk meeting and say, hey, this is what's happening. It's a great place for troubleshooting. Also, if you need a one-on-one meeting, an individual meeting, you can email Jordan Rogers, and this is her email address. And she meets with people on an individual basis as well. And she's wonderful. She's like she has a PhD in counseling, so you can get a little bit of free counseling while you're in there because she is so sweet. She's like the nicest, most patient person I've ever met. So she can help you troubleshooting issues too in FolioTech. And if you ever need help with writing or grammar, UNT has an online writing center, which is amazing. Also, our career center at UNT, they will help you with make the best resume. They've done a lot of testing and researching on what makes the best resume. And they also will make free business cards for you if you just click on that link and go to the Career Center. Really amazing resources for you there. This is as far as visuals in your ePortfolio. Like, you want to have visuals, but you don't want to have too many, you know. I mean, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then 5 pictures are worth, well, can we even count that high? You know, we want to have words, we want to have pictures, but we don't want to have too many. So look at this PDF for tips about what do you want to do? How many pictures do you need? What kind of pictures? Do you want to have some logos? I mean, what should this look like? Because if you're like me, I don't know. I want someone to tell me. So there's some pointers there. Then there's a couple of articles linked here to more about pictures. Now we'll go on to the next. This is actually the first page that talks about your landing page. So you can see there's a description here about what should go on that page. This is the sub pages under the landing page, more about what should go there. And then there's some FAQs. These came from the first semester students in fall 2019. These were some of the frequently asked questions, the questions that they asked when they got in there. So this is intended to maybe help you. And then there's a little video in each section that will show you someone's electronic portfolio and what they did, so that you kind of get a visual idea of what are people doing. And each piece of your ePortfolio has a page then in this module. So that would be the very first module right here. The ePortfolio parts explained step by step. So go through that whenever you have time, and I think you'll find that pretty straightforward. ALA competencies, you can see that we have the ALA competencies page. Then we have a whole module for ALA competencies. Thank you to Dr. Enoch for putting this together, because he did. And these under each of the competencies, it breaks down the competencies one at a time. And it also tells you, let's take a look really fast. I'll show you what it tells you. It will tell you some of the courses where these competencies were demonstrated in assignments, and it'll even tell you the exact assignment. So that's kind of nice, because I usually tell students, we want you to figure that out. We want you to look at your courses and look at your assignments and say, how does this meet and what competency does it meet? We want you to think about that, because that's where you're going to really get acquainted with those core competencies. But Dr. Enoch's done a little bit of the work for you here. So thank you, Dr. Enoch. We are very thankful for him. So yeah, this is really helpful. And so that's the second module. That's the ALA competencies module. So that's right here. And then if we scroll down a little further, these are your checklists for each semester and your rubrics. Now we have 5 semester checklists. Maybe you're planning to graduate in 3 semesters. Woohoo! Good job if you are. That's amazing. So if you're going to graduate in 3 semesters, you might want to do 2. You might want to cover 2 semesters worth of rubrics, your first semester, and then you might want to cover 2 the next semester. But most people take about 6 semesters, 5 to 6 semesters to graduate. So that's how it's set up. But if you're going to move faster, you're just going to need to also add more content to your ePortfolio a little faster. So let's take a look at the first semester, which your work is due August 21st. So that's going to be the Friday before classes start for the fall semester. So that'll give you as much time as we possibly can before your classes start to add content. Now that doesn't mean if you want to do it during summer school, please do. It's up to you. You can do that. You can do that now, this weekend, whatever you want to do. You don't have to wait, but you can wait if you need to. Okay, so this is just more about how we're going to review your ePortfolios, which I kind of already talked about, the 1, 2, 3, and let me go down and just show you a rubric. So this is a checklist of what you need to do the first semester, and it's also repeated in the rubric. So down here, when the reviewers look at your ePortfolio, they're going to look at the landing page, and they're going to say, do they have a professional introduction? So they're going to want to see that in a paragraph. So if they see that and they say, okay, they did, this is the criteria, they did all these things, then they're going to come over here and give you a 3. If they see that something under this criteria is missing, then they're going to put a 2, and they're also going to leave a note for you that says exactly what you need to do. I didn't see this, so, am I missing it, or did you not have it there? This is what you need to provide. So then you go on to the next criteria, a professional photo. So if you're in your swimsuit in your professional photo, they might say, oh, sorry, too. We need you to have a professional. Now, I know we're all laughing, but you would not believe the photos that you see sometimes. It's pretty funny. So, just each criteria, they're going to be looking at your portfolio and saying, okay, do I see this? Your employment statement, what kind of work are you doing right now? What kind of work are you pursuing? As far as social media, some of you may not have social media, and that's okay, but we do require that you have a LinkedIn account. So this first semester, you're going to set up a LinkedIn account. That's the only social media that's absolutely required. But as you know, social media is such a great tool. So if you have other accounts, go ahead and link them on that first landing page where you have your contact information. You do not need to put your personal address or phone number on your under your landing page. I mean, we don't want people now. Right now, the only ones who have access are going to be those of us, who are reviewers or faculty. But eventually you might make your ePortfolio public. So you just want to think about, I don't want people to necessarily know where I live. And so each of these criteria then has a 3, 2, 1. Basically, if it's perfect, you're going to get a 3. If there's a problem, there's going to be a 2 or a 1. It's kind of rare to see 1s. Don't we, Carrie and Nez, you almost always see 2s or 3s?
Yeah, it's mostly twos. I mean, one is like they have done nothing. It's like blank.
Okay, good. So a 1, if there's nothing there, that would be a 1.
If they have no attempt, if there is some attempt, we try to give a 2 and say we add this is missing. But if there's nothing in there, then there's nothing we can do. We cannot give you a grade, if there's nothing.
Absolutely. All right. So now I'm not going to read through all of this because I know you guys can read this yourself, but I just want you to see, this looks like a lot. Under professional philosophy of practice, you see it says at least 1 paragraph. So just 1 paragraph. You just have to pick 1 paragraph. Under the second semester, I think it's going to say you need 2 paragraphs. That means total. If it's the second semester rubric, that means by now you should have a total of 2 paragraphs. So you did 1 already. You're adding another paragraph. Just want to make sure that that makes sense. I would say under ALA competencies, I think it's asking you to add 2 assignments from your first semester. But remember, by the end, you're going to need 16, but you can use 1 assignment in 2 places. But by the end, you're going to need 2 assignments for each of those 8 competencies. And then you're going to need 4 blog entries, and you can use discussion board posts, but just take away evidence that, it's a discussion board post. You want it to look like a blog entry. And then your Vita. I would say for this first semester, you're probably going to spend about 10 hours. If I were estimating, I would say you'd spend about 10 hours getting this work done. And that completely depends too on you, and because some people it may take a little longer. Sometimes it depends on internet speed and all kinds of things. So, but I would estimate that you want to think about spending about 10 hours per semester. And so by the end of 5 semesters. Now the second semester work, I think, takes about half that amount of time. I have to say the second semester is pretty easy. So you may have 15 hours in it after the first 2 semesters. By the end, I think you're going to have about 40 to 50 hours of time invested in your ePortfolio. And that's about what we expect for the EOP exam. So the EOP exam, people have 1 whole week, 7 days to do the exam. So for this, you're just doing it over time. You're spending that same amount of time, but you're doing it stretched out over the course of your studies. Now I'm just going to show you, let me make sure, I don't think there's anything else I need to show you in modules, but let me just take a look. Oh, there's one thing that I thought of. If you are school library, Students, if you'll scroll all the way down on the modules page, especially if, oh, by the way, you'll want to read this, the do's and don'ts. This is more about that quirky stuff from Folio Tech. And then there are helpful resources about the, the different things that you might need extra information about. And if you come, this is just like fluffy information, me and Miss Dr. Enoch. But school library students only, if you are a certification only student, your checklists are right here. For certification only students, I will look at your ePortfolio after your first semester, but then you won't have it looked at again until you do practicum. For school library master's degree students, you are going to do the ePortfolio just like everyone else, but you're also going to add AASL pages for the American Association of School Library Standards, and that information is here. And that's certification students, you don't have to do, certification only students, you don't have to do the ALA competencies, but you do have to do the AASL standards. So those of you who are not school library and all that was like, what the heck is she talking about? Don't worry. but there's more information here for those of you who are. Now this meeting, I'm going to load up under chats and meetings tonight after we're done, or I might load it tomorrow, but it's going to be on there either today or tomorrow so that you can go back and look at it if you want to. And now I just want to show you a couple of ePortfolios that are in progress. So this is Ashley Corbely's ePortfolio. I just love the birds. Isn't that beautiful? And this is her ALA competency page. So you can see she has a description of her assignment when she completed it. She has a link here to the assignment, so I could click here and it would open it in a new window. And then she has her description for how this assignment met the core competency. And then you can see her instructions. She saved them down here because she said, hey, I might need these again. So that's an example of her core competency. Let's take a look. I think this one's so pretty. Look at that. Nicole Border. She says, hello. As you can see, my name is Nicole Border, and I am pursuing a Master of Science degree in Library Science. So I thought she just sounded very spunky, I have to say. I just love that. You know what? This should sound like you. Be you. You're the best you. Nobody else is like you. Be yourself and talk like yourself. But I just love the library. Isn't this gorgeous in the background? So this is her home page. She's got her LinkedIn account information and she's got it hyperlinked so I could click there and go to it. So beautiful. You can see her professional photo. I love it. Let's take a look at, this is Billy Carter's capstone. Now his blog I thought was just really clever. He says, the first day, I was quite nervous the first day of class. I won't read this to you, but he had never taken a class that met for 8 hours. This picture, he says, this is a representation of how I felt that day. All these books just open. Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And he has a picture that goes with each one of his blog posts. He says, I remember using these on the first project that I completed. Group work, it was kind of like this, but we did it all digitally. You can see his sense of humor in his blog posts, right? I'm like, this guy is funny, you know, but that's great. I want to see personality, you know, we all have one, so we might as well just let it shine. And then he has, okay, spring 2020. Oh, here's Bill, first day trip, just 5 more minutes. Oh, he spelled minutes wrong. That would be something, you know, a lot of times I tell people, just run it through a spell check. Just run it through a spell check because it'll catch those little things. Jessica Snow, let's look at Jessica. This is her landing page. So looking at her landing page, what do you think Jessica does? Oh, here in little print, it says steampunk violist, aspiring orchestra librarian. Well, it completely makes sense that she's got this beautiful musical, these musical notes behind us, right? Because she's going to be a music librarian. So here's her professional photo, looks great. Very professional. Hello there. Welcome to my ePortfolio. All right. So that's just a little, let me see. I don't think there's another one here. No, that was the last one. But that's just a little bit about, what some of these ePortfolios look like. They notice that her menu is right here and small up here at the top. You get to decide that. For Billy's, his menu is over to the left side. You get to decide all of that. You get to play with this and make it look like you want it to look. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so I can see you guys. And there's 13 questions in the chat. Let me see. It might just be you guys saying hi to each other a little bit too. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to scroll to the top. Oh, you're welcome, Cheryl. This is going to be fun. I want y'all to have fun with this. This is not meant to be high pressure and horrifying. It's meant to be fun and a chance for you to just shine and showcase yourself and your amazing abilities and everything that you're learning while you're here. So think of it like that. So it's like PowerPoint set up. Kind of. I mean, I think it's more like a website. Now, I will tell you, it's not my favorite website design program. I love Wix. Wix is my favorite. But it's basically, FolioTech is basically like a web design program. So, and the more you play with it, the more I think you will learn to enjoy it. In professional fields, outside libraries at least, core competencies have been how people are rated at the end of your review and raise times. I expect this will contribute to higher ability and performance reviews. Oh, absolutely. Yes, you know what? You can tell a lot about how people think by looking at what they determine meets a core competency. And those are so important. Don't underestimate those core competencies, because I do think a lot of employers will look at those. They want to see that you understand. Those are values that have been decided by experts as being very important in your field. So it's something that's important, and that's why they're featured heavily in our ePortfolio, because we want you to spend time reflecting on them. Do we have different competencies for information science? Oh, so no, we actually have the same competencies. The information science master's degree and the MLS, when we're accredited through ALA, our accreditation for the information science department comes through the American Library Association. So it's the same core competencies for information scientists as for library scientists. Good question though. Oh yeah, thank you, Nez. She already answered that. Yep, it's the same for both. I missed the 30-minute time limit to make an account. Should I still go in and make an account on the FolioTech website? So you don't have to make an account. And I'm not sure what you mean about that 30-minute time limit. Are you not, Melissa, are you not able to set up the account?
No, I set it up, but then it emailed me like, you have 30 minutes to register, or you have to do something else, like go through another
You know
process.
what? I've never heard of that. Just go try again and tell me what happens, okay? So if you have a problem, we'll talk about it. You and me will get together and figure out that. That's weird. They should not rush you like that. That's just rude. So don't worry about that. I think it's going to be fine. But if you have a problem, let me know and we'll figure it out, okay? Okay. Did they do that to you too, Cheryl? That 30-minute time limit? Try it again. If y'all have problems, email me, okay? And we'll figure it out.
I missed the fact that I should probably go on to FolioTech and make an account. So I just
okay, now and also that first screencast on your homepage on the CIP, it'll lead you through those steps. You don't actually have to go into foliotech.com and make an account. You can just follow those steps when you first enter. You're welcome. Yeah, and in fact, if you don't make an account, go to foliotech.com and make an account, then you can't get confused. about am I making changes on Folio Tech. Eventually, after you graduate, you will access your ePortfolio through Folio Tech. But until then, you can just access it through this CIP because it's not going anywhere. And so it's Folio Tech where we can keep it. Yes, exactly. For your own access after graduation is going to be through Folio Tech. And thank you, Niz. Yes, so school librarians with masters have to do ALA competencies. Yes, school librarians who are getting the masters, you have to do the ALA competencies, and you have to add a page, the AASL competencies. So yes, that is true. And Kathy, there you are. Hi, Kathy, down there. Yes. So you have a little extra work to do. The school library students have actually been doing ePortfolios and the EOP up until now. So you're kind of lucky, school library students, because you don't have to do the EOP anymore. Yay. But you do have, because AASL is specifically for school librarians, so you do have to add that piece because those standards are based on what you're going to be doing as a school librarian.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, y'all? And if you want to unmute yourself and talk, go right ahead.
Any chance we could see an example of one of the ALA sections of someone's ePortfolio, or are we not allowed to see that?
You mean like to have it up there
Just
for
have
you?
an example, like just to share your screen again and just glaze over it. Very visual.
Or could you talk about the differences between the competencies?
Oh yeah, good question.
Let me see. Okay, so we're on Billy Carter's, and I haven't looked at his ALA competencies, but let's take a look. We'll see how he's doing over here. Okay, so this is his landing page, and you can see on his menu, his competencies popped up after we clicked on the menu for the first time. Let's go to the first competency and we'll see if he has any content yet. He does not. Let's check under the second one. Information resources. Okay, so he has some information here under organization of recorded knowledge and information. So in info 5200, ooh, the print is tiny. Introduction to information organization. He said this is the first draft or the final draft for the information organization product, the IOP, which is a major product in that class. All of your core classes, by the way, are going to meet all 8 ALA core competencies. And under module 2 in the CIP, where those ALA competencies are listed, it'll tell you which assignments meet which competency. So all 8 core competencies, the ALA core competencies, are going to be met in those 3 core classes that you take. Okay, so he says on April 30th, he completed this. So right here, he has draft 4 and IOP draft 4 with name and authority file. Let's take a look. We're going to open it up. So his is going to open up as a document. There it is. Let me move you guys up here. All right, so this is just the exact assignment that he turned in for this project in 5200. So this was his IOP. I'm going to close this. Let's see. And basically, you'll do the exact same thing. So you'll either embed. I always tell people I like to see it embedded. A link is fine too, but for usability purposes, embedding, a lot of people won't click on the link to go look at it. They would rather just see it there. So I always think it's a good idea to do both, but you're not going to lose points if you don't embed it. So he didn't embed it, but right here he says, okay, this was by far one of the most difficult assignments I have ever done. And then he talks a little bit about the assignment and about what he did blah, blah, blah. And so he says, let's see where we can see where he links it to the competency. Hope you should see. Versions of the file. Okay, so basically he's just described the assignment. I would like to see a little bit more from him here about how exactly this assignment meets this competency, because he left that up to our imagination a little bit. So I would like to see like at least a sentence or two that says really clearly, this assignment meets this competency because ... and then you fill in the dots. Does that make sense?
Just answer that question. What you should do is when you go to the assignment, have the ALA competencies and say this links to 1B, for example, or 4A. That's what they did. When the students that I review them, that's what they did it. And some of them did not. And I made a note of them saying that you should write this in this way. So that's how you do those assignments. I'm not sure she did it or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look and see what this one,
I don't think she hasn't, but let's check hers.
Have you looked at this one recently?
Yeah, I don't think that was a good one. No, it was not.
Okay, let me.
Some very good ones. I know.
Let's see. So let's take a look under. We're going to look at her technological knowledge and skills. Now, just like you guys, even though they've been in for a couple of semesters, they're just getting started too. So they are not going to have all of the content completed yet because these are incomplete ePortfolios. Okay, so she's talking about that she completed this in Info 5200, and this is the date she completed it. It was her information organization project again. So that IOP project. She talks about the assignment specifically. The main takeaway I had was that we should be catering to the users. They are the reason for creation of any database. Systems should be consistent. All right, so the students go through in order to create organization. So yes, what I would say if I were reviewing this entry, and she's got her assignment there too, meant to expose students to specific content. It fits well. Here's where she talks about how it fits in competency 3, because the evaluative skills required to write the concept briefing allowed me to demonstrate the ability to organize recorded knowledge. So that's excellent. That's exactly what we would want to see. So a description of the assignment, but then also how does it meet the competency? And I would go even further and I would say, could you write down, like Nez just said, the number and the letter of the specific piece where you thought that competency was met? Let's take a look here for a second. I got to move you down a little bit more. We're going to go back over here to the ALA page. Let me see. Okay, so the core competencies for librarianship, we're going to open those up. All right. So let's think about this. If you're thinking about like an assignment that you've done this summer, can you think of an assignment that has met any one of these competencies? And feel free to just jump in, anyone who wants to share.
I can't see it.
Oh, can you not see these 8 core
no, it's my eyesight.
Oh, okay. It's tiny, isn't it? I know. I'm like getting closer and back. Let's see. Lifelong learning. Let's just take a look at these for a second. How about
Sure. In 5600, we've been covering evaluation of different resources, so that would align with number 2, examining and evaluating all sorts of different reference material like databases, journals, dictionaries, sources, etc.
Absolutely. Excellent. That was a great example. Good. Anyone else have an example you want to share?
I'm not sure if it works, but would the Empowering Learners presentation in 5001 go with number 8?
Let's take a look.
Giving professional development to faculty.
I think that sounds great. And remember too, sometimes these assignments can meet multiple competencies. And here's what's important is, oh, okay, it's not letting me open that. Sometimes the justification is what matters, because if you can explain it, and it's kind of like back when do you remember taking geometry back in the day? Did we all take geometry? And you remember they had those proofs? You had to prove that this did this, and you had to go through the steps. This is kind of like that. You're just proving that this assignment meets this competency, and with a couple of sentences to explain how. So if it makes sense to you and you can connect those dots, that's what's necessary. We're just wanting to see that you're thinking about it. You're thinking about, how does this meet this competency? Let's take a look here. We'll go and look at number 1 a little bit more in depth. So this is foundations of the profession, and then it's broken down. You can see, and I'm sorry, it's kind of small again, A through K. So there's a lot of different, for those of you who are in the library, the school library program, 1K certification and licensure requirements, there are things that we do in our practicum course that are related to certification. They have to take a certification exam and pass it. So what they do in that 50-90 practicum course, for those of you who are school librarians, here's an answer for you. Definitely meet certification and licensure requirements for the state of Texas. We also do assignments. We do lesson plan assignments, and that's related to our certification and licensure through the Texas Education Association. And I always say in the assignment instructions, this meets a Texas Education Agency requirement. So that's kind of a tell, right? Let's see, the history of human communication. What about 1A, the ethics, values, and foundational principles of the library and information profession? You probably are doing a lot of assignments that are related to 1A in some way, shape, or form. We were just having a discussion board this past week about self-censorship among librarians. And do librarians ever not buy books because they're controversial? All the time. Should they do that? No, but it happens, right? So we're saying, okay, what's going on? And how do we prevent ourselves from doing that? We got to know our biases, right? We have to know what our own tendencies are. And then we have to say, okay, I can't just go with what I like or what I'm afraid might happen. Fear stops people a lot of times, fear of repercussions, fear of parents getting upset, fear of administrators getting upset, right? So those are all ethical considerations. So that discussion board would be a perfect example of 1A. So is that good? Is that too much, or was that helpful? Good, okay. Any other questions?
Can we use any class for a competency, or is it only out of those 3 core classes?
You can use any class, yes. Now the core classes will meet all 8 competencies. The assignments will, but you can choose assignments from any of the courses that you take. Good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would it be inappropriate to use any professional experience, or should most of this portfolio come from schoolwork?
No, you can use professional experiences too, absolutely. And a lot of you are doing practicums or internships too. You're going to learn a lot. I mean, we're giving you a lot of theoretical information in your classes, but when you go out there, what you're going to experience on the is going to be a major learning experience, right? So absolutely, you can use those professional experiences too. Great question, Forrest. Other questions?
Also, with the core competencies, so say we submit a project and we say like, okay, we learned this is why.
Mhm.
Can we change that like next semester, say we do another class and we
Yes.
feel like it fits better?
Absolutely. Yes, and your reviewers are not going to remember. They're going to be like, oh, they're going to, I mean, unless they have a photographic memory, they're not going to be like, well, she had this project last time and now she's changed it. No, this is your ePortfolio. You can change whatever you want, whenever you want. The reviewers are just going to try to help you with editing and guidance and maybe catch things that you don't see. Sometimes we get very close to a project and we don't see things that other people might see. So think of them as like really good editors. And whenever someday when you publish, y'all, and I just think you will someday, the editing process is just crazy. When I mean, they now our reviewers are not going to be like editors, but when you go through, you're like, wow, is this even my paper anymore? Because they do heavily edit. It just happens. But if you want to be published, you just say, okay, go ahead. Other questions? I just don't want to miss anyone who might.
I was just curious. So if I'm going to get the master's, but I already have a master's.
Mm-hmm.
But my understanding after tonight is that practicum has to be completed before I take the library certification test, even if I'm not done with the master's program.
And you're a school library student?
Yes.
Jennifer, so you'll take practicum. So the actual practicum process of earning those 160 clock hours, you should start working on like this semester and be accumulating those hours throughout your coursework. And for those of you who are not school library students, this doesn't apply to you because you do internship differently. But for school library students, you accumulate those hours over the course of your however long it takes you to get your degree. In your actual practicum course, the Info 5090 practicum course, you will take the certification exam during that course, and we will study for it and prepare you, and then you'll go take the exam. That'll be like the first thing we do in your practicum course.
But
And
we
then
don't
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I apologize. But the portfolio, that doesn't have to be done by the test. It has to be completed by the end of the whole program, correct?
Right. So your ePortfolio will go before faculty the very last semester, the semester you intend to graduate. So what I'll be doing is, not in the fall, but probably in the spring, I'll say, do you plan to graduate in the summer? If you do, take this survey. Because what that means is that we need to know that you're finishing your ePortfolio the semester before you intend to graduate. So we'll start asking that, not this summer, but we'll wait a semester or two, and then we'll start asking, are you graduating next semester? If you're not, you don't have to worry about that survey. That's just to let us know. So we want you to finish your ePortfolio immediately the semester before you graduate. So if you're taking core classes last, then you're definitely, in your last semester, then you're definitely going to want to choose ALA competencies from your other classes, because we basically want you to have your ePortfolio done before your last semester. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So practicum is done before library certification, and then the portfolio is done by the end of the degree.
Yes.
Okay.
And so practicum in school library, we just have a little confusion because we have a practicum course, but really that's just where you're turning in all your stuff. You're just tying up all the loose ends.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions? I like to wait 10 seconds just in case. It's really hard to wait 10 seconds and not say anything. but 10 seconds is good. If you have questions though, feel free to email me, Tricia, TRICIA .Kuon, KUON @UNT.edu. If you message through the course, that comes to me too. And I'm happy to answer questions. And eventually when you get a reviewer, then you'll get their email address too, and you can email them directly as well with questions. And I will definitely, you're welcome. You're very welcome, Kathy. I will definitely post this video tomorrow so that you all if you want to go back and watch it, you were here, so you don't have to, but if you want to, we aim to please. It's great to see you all though. Nice to meet you. And I will, see you again sometime, I think. So take care.
Yep.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Good night.